The story of oil in Africa begins in the early 20th century, during European colonialism. European powers, hungry for resources, began exploring the continent's oil potential. Significant discoveries came in the 1950s and 60s as newly independent African nations sought to capitalize on their resources. These discoveries transformed the continent's economic landscape, attracting foreign investment. However, this period was often marked by exploitation and unequal partnerships. Oil brought both blessings and curses, promising prosperity but also causing political instability. Many African nations became dependent on oil revenues, hindering economic diversification. Control over oil resources led to power struggles and corruption. Despite challenges, oil discovery marked a turning point in Africa's history. Today, Africa is home to several major oil-producing countries that play a significant role in the global energy market. Nigeria, located in West Africa, stands as the continent's largest oil producer. With vast reserves located in the Niger Delta, Nigeria has become a key player in the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. Angola, situated on the southwestern coast of Africa, is another major oil producer, boasting significant offshore oil fields. Its oil wealth has contributed to its emergence as one of Africa's fastest-growing economies. Libya, with its vast reserves located in the Sahara Desert, has long been a significant player in the global oil market. Despite political instability and conflict, Libya's oil production continues to be a crucial source of revenue for the country. Algeria, located in North Africa, is another major oil and gas producer. These major oil producers, along with several other smaller producers, have positioned Africa as a vital source of energy for the world. Africa's oil plays a crucial role in meeting the world's insatiable demand for energy. The continent is home to an estimated 8% of the world's proven oil reserves, making it a vital source of supply for major consuming nations. Africa's oil exports contribute significantly to the global energy mix, powering industries, transportation, and economies worldwide. The continent's strategic location, with easy access to major shipping routes, further enhances its importance as a reliable energy supplier. The demand for Africa's oil is driven by several factors, including population growth, industrialization, and rising living standards in emerging economies. As countries around the world experience economic expansion, their energy needs increase, leading to a surge in demand for oil and other fossil fuels. Africa, with its vast reserves and growing production capacity, is well positioned to meet this growing demand. Oil revenues have the potential to transform African economies, lifting millions out of poverty and improving living standards. However, this potential can only be fully realized if oil wealth is managed responsibly and transparently. The United States, China, and the European Union are among the largest importers of African oil, relying on the continent's resources to meet their substantial energy needs. The United States, despite its own domestic oil production, remains a major consumer of African oil, particularly light sweet crude, which is well suited for its refineries. China's rapidly growing economy and its insatiable thirst for energy have made it a major importer of African oil, with Angola and Nigeria among its top suppliers. The European Union, heavily reliant on imports to meet its energy demands, also looks to Africa as a significant source of oil. Countries like Italy, Spain, and France have established strong energy partnerships with African nations, securing access to vital oil supplies. The demand from these major importers highlights the strategic importance of Africa's oil in the global energy market. African nations must navigate these relationships carefully, ensuring that their interests are protected and that oil revenues are used to benefit their citizens. Section 5. The double-edged sword: economic impacts of oil in Africa. Oil wealth has had a profound impact on the economies of African oil-producing nations, bringing both opportunities and challenges. On the one hand, oil revenues have fueled economic growth, creating jobs, boosting government revenues, and financing infrastructure development. Oil-rich nations have witnessed significant improvements in their GDP per capita, with some countries experiencing rapid economic expansion. However, the reliance on oil revenue has also created economic vulnerabilities. The volatility of global oil prices exposes these economies to boom and bust cycles, making it challenging to plan for long-term sustainable growth. This over-reliance on oil has resulted in what economists call the Dutch disease, where the influx of oil revenue strengthens the local currency, making other exports less competitive and hindering the growth of non-oil sectors. Section 6. The resource curse, political instability and corruption in oil-rich nations. The discovery of oil, often hailed as a blessing, has paradoxically been linked to political instability and corruption in many resource-rich African nations. The vast wealth generated by oil exports has, in some cases, fueled corruption, patronage networks, and power struggles. The control over oil resources has become a high-stakes game, leading to political instability, conflict, and even violence. In some countries, oil revenues have been siphoned off by corrupt officials, enriching a select few, while the majority of the population continues to live in poverty. This lack of transparency and accountability has eroded public trust and fueled grievances, creating fertile ground for instability and unrest. The resource curse highlights the challenges of managing oil wealth effectively and transparently. Section 7. Environmental concerns, the ecological price of oil extraction. Oil exploration and production have taken a toll on the environment in many parts of Africa, raising concerns about pollution, deforestation, and the impact on local communities. Oil spills, gas flaring, and the disposal of drilling waste have contaminated water sources, damaged ecosystems, and threatened the livelihoods of communities dependent on fishing and agriculture. The Niger Delta, for instance, has become synonymous with the devastating environmental consequences of oil extraction. Decades of oil spills and environmental negligence have polluted waterways, destroyed mangroves, and threatened the health of local communities. African nations must prioritize environmental protection and sustainable practices in their oil industries, ensuring that oil extraction activities are conducted in a manner that minimizes environmental damage and safeguards the health of their citizens. Section 8. The role of multinationals, a history of big oil in Africa. Multinational oil corporations have played a significant role in Africa's oil industry since the early days of exploration. Companies like Shell, ExxonMobil, Chevron, and Total Energies have invested heavily in exploration, production, and infrastructure development, contributing to the growth of the continent's oil sector. Their expertise, technology, and financial resources have been instrumental in unlocking Africa's oil wealth. However, the relationship between multinational oil companies and African nations has often been fraught with tension and controversy. Accusations of exploitation, environmental negligence, and unfair contracts have plagued the industry for decades. The history of big oil in Africa is marked by instances of corruption, human rights abuses, and environmental disasters, leaving a legacy of mistrust and resentment. African nations are increasingly demanding a more equitable share of oil revenues and greater control over their natural resources. Section 9. The future of Africa's oil navigating a changing global energy landscape. The future of Africa's oil industry is at a crossroads, facing both opportunities and challenges in a rapidly evolving global energy landscape. The world is witnessing a gradual shift towards renewable energy sources, driven by concerns about climate change, environmental sustainability, and energy security. This transition to a low-carbon future poses both risks and opportunities for Africa's oil-dependent economies. On the one hand, the global shift towards renewables could lead to a decline in demand for fossil fuels, including oil, in the long term. This could have significant implications for African oil producers, potentially leading to lower oil revenues, reduced investment, and economic challenges. Africa has enormous potential for renewable energy development with abundant solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal resources. By investing in renewable energy infrastructure, African nations can reduce their dependence on oil, create new jobs, and mitigate the impacts of climate change. Section 10. Towards a sustainable future, balancing oil wealth with renewable energy. Africa must balance its oil resources with a sustainable energy future. This requires responsible oil governance, economic diversification, and investment in renewable energy. Transparency and good governance in oil industries are essential for sustainable development. Diversifying economies away from oil dependence is crucial. Harnessing renewable energy can reduce reliance on fossil fuels and create new jobs. The future lies in balancing oil wealth with renewable energy for a sustainable future.